Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of how to make a brass nameplate. We're going to pick up right where we left off in the first video, so let's get to it right now. Let's cut the size, and you have your transfer on there. You can see that. You want to take your bowl, lay your plate right in the bottom. You want to pour your ferric chloride to where it just covers the plate. I recommend that you wear a mask because it is, you know, it is an acid and it is caustic. The reason why I'm not wearing one is because I'm trying to explain in this video. But every so often, you want to agitate your bowl. Now, don't splash a lot, because you definitely don't want to get it on your skin or hands. I use chemical gloves when I'm actually going to, you know, grab the piece and work with it. But I'm very careful to agitate this. So all it does is it runs that solution around on top of your brass plate and starts the etching. You agitate a little bit, let it sit for a while. You'll notice that it gets really dark over the brass plate, and as it does that, agitate it and it'll start moving that etched metal away from your plate. The actual etching process takes about 45 minutes. But you want to let it sit for a little while, let it do its thing. Every so often come back to the bowl and agitate it. Alright guys, I'm about 20 minutes into the etching process, and I wanted to show you some of the next steps. Now I have my gloves on for this next step. Once the etching process begins, you want to get a toothpick, or I took the end of an old paintbrush that I had and I just took a razor knife and I sharpened the edge to get a nice little point. You can do something like that, or a toothpick, and you want to rub, and I got some tweezers to help me grab this plate so you can see it there. You want to rub the point of that toothpick over your image, and if you start to feel a little lip, that means it's already starting to etch away around the brass, and you're pretty close to being done. But you want to feel that little lip. So just keep checking the progress. You know, I usually check it once about halfway through, and then again when the 45 minutes is up, I'll check it again to make sure that I got a nice little raise out of my lettering. And then what you want to do is you want to pick up the brass plate out of the chemical and wash it off with, you know, warm water to wash all the chemical off of it, so it'll stop that etching. Okay guys, we're at the end of the 45 minutes, and I've already taken my brass plate out and rinsed it off with warm water. You'll notice that when you take it out of the solution and rinse it off, that the brass is discolored, and that's normal. Because the chemical was eating away at it. It cleans up real nicely. What I usually do with the solution when it's done is I don't pour it back into the new bottle of the new solution, but I do pour it into another bottle, because the etching solution can be reused. It can actually be reused a few times before it doesn't work anymore. You want to make sure that it's in a plastic bottle and sealed tightly. Rinse your bowl out, of course, you know, because you don't want any of that chemical residue left behind that you could accidentally touch or something. But now that I have put the used acid or ferric chloride into the spare bottle, I can go ahead and take my gloves off, because I've already rinsed the chemical off of the plate. You want to make sure that you dry off the plate, and the next step is you want to take some 320 sandpaper and ever so lightly you want to sand away the toner that you transferred onto the film, and you don't want to sand too aggressively because you'll just sand your etching right out. You just want enough to take that toner, and it doesn't take a lot of pressure. You just want to take that toner off of the brass raised letters or your artwork or whatever your design is. And it's a very, very light touch, and it doesn't take any time at all, or any effort at all to take this toner off. But once you have all the toner off, you can now start to dress up your image. Once my plate is all nice and done, I actually take it's called a Labrador Brown. It's made by Valspar. It's a spray paint. Once I'm done dressing up my edges and everything, I'll actually paint the whole surface with that flat Labrador Brown paint. And when that paint dries, then I go back and I'll sand to show you how that's done right now. Alright, the next step that I do is I take my plate and I want to round off. I always round off the edges of my brass that I cut out, and how I do that is with a drum sander and my drill press. Now you can use your disc sander or another method for smoothing off the edges, or however whatever design or shape you actually have your brass plate in. But what I do is simply just round off the edges with the drum sander. Okay, once I'm happy with that, and then I go over to the next step, which is actually painting the plate. Alright guys, once the paint has dried, I want to take some 320 sandpaper, and once again with a very light touch, you just want to sand the paint off of your raised lettering. And I always, once I do that, I always sand around the edges to kind of give it a dressed up look. Once again, very light touch. You don't want to do a lot of aggressive sanding. Once I get the edges done and the lettering, then I'll take over the whole image and very lightly I put scratches in my paint just to give it a little bit of an aged look, to flatten out some of that brown. And if you over sand your plate, like I did right here in the corner, you can simply just touch that area up and then resand and dress it up the way you want. But that's how you etch brass and make a nice little name plate for your project. Alright guys, once again, thanks for sticking with me through this project. It's a nice little brass plate to add to your actual woodworking projects. You can get creative in your artwork, but you don't want to get too detailed. Keep it simple, handcrafted by you. Your image can be pretty much whatever it wants. I chose a hand plane for mine just to kind of represent woodworking. If you want to read up on the whole process, Charles Mack is the author of the article Etch Nameplates in American Woodworker issue number 145 back in December of 2010. Charles goes into a lot of detail on the Jack's solution for patinaing your brass. The Valspar Brown Labrador paint, flat interior exterior paint, is a good alternative. It allows the brass lettering of your image to really stand out from the background itself. Keep a lookout. I've got some new projects coming up soon. I'll be getting started on the cedar chest that I had mentioned in my last video too. That should be a fun one. So keep a lookout for that, and thank you very much. See you soon.